discuss solarpunk ideology, things we can do in our communities to make them better, and ways to build a world that we want to live in. It is the end of summer for me, so this episode is sort of special. I know I've said it time and time again, but I honestly didn't think that I would receive such an outpouring of support and interest in this podcast, and I'm beyond thankful for anyone who has tuned in, liked, commented, or subscribed to this show. This episode was originally going to be about sustainable AI, and I'll still do that one, but I wanted to take a look back at why I started this pod in the first place. When I came across these TikTok videos on Threads this week, they all really resonated with me, so I'm going to play them for you really quickly.
My name is Jarian. I am 25 years old. I want to die, but I don't want to die because I just want to die and I feel like life isn't worth living. It's because it's hard to fucking live. It's hard to live. For one, as soon as you start working full time, there's no date on the calendar that says when you get to stop working. It's just death. You get to stop working when you die. I don't want to stop working when I die because when do I get the opportunity to live? I've been on 8 different types of antidepressants and anti-anxiety medications. I've been on TMS therapy. I've done ketamine therapy. I've talked to different therapists who just tell me that I'm self-aware enough to understand what's wrong with me and I'll get through it eventually. The problem isn't that I'm just sad. The problem is I don't have enough fucking money. I don't have enough money. I make $21 an hour and that's still not enough to pay my bills. I don't make enough money. I don't make enough money and there's not jobs out there that are going to pay enough. Not only that, I can't clone myself to be able to get multiple jobs. This is amazing. But I'm supposed to believe that I have a purpose in life and I'm just supposed to want to stay alive. This is amazing. This is awesome. I'm depressed and there's nothing that can fix it except money. Thank you for coming to my fucking TED Talk.
A realtor just knocked on my door. There was a sign on my door yesterday saying that I had an apartment inspection, and I figured it was just like one of those regular inspections from my landlord. But it was a realtor who came today, and she told me my apartment is being sold, and she was just seeing if she wanted to maybe buy it, and that the rent will be going out. And I explained to her that I just moved into this apartment in May because the last building I was in, it got sold and the rent went up to $1,400 and I couldn't afford it. So I moved into this one. And she's saying that it's going to happen again. She tried to tell me I'm on a month-to-month lease, which I said is not possible because I just moved in here in May and I'm pretty sure I signed a year lease. I have to find my lease. I didn't have it on me. She said all this in front of my kid. Some random wealthy person that owns a bunch of income properties just came into my house at dinner time and told me that I'm losing my housing again for the second time in a year. She's like, why can't you get a mortgage and buy it? I'm so tired.
Every year, the richest person in the world should be sacrificed and their wealth distributed to the poorest among us. Every year, we would have billionaires scrambling to distribute their wealth in an attempt to ensure they aren't the one that's pushed out into the ocean next year. What do you think?
I, personally, think it's a great idea. You've just heard from Jello Jai, Handler Reacts, and the Political Mommy on TikTok. And this is the rage that people are feeling right now, because we are trapped in a system that doesn't work for us. And honestly, I think we are all collectively grieving what this country could have been. We're sad because we know it doesn't have to be so shitty. And we're angry because it sucks to watch the worst people thriving while some of the best suffer, and the feeling of injustice and the fact that they're getting away with it and no one is coming to save us. We feel helpless because we don't know what to do and aimless because we don't know where to start. And I think what we're looking for is leadership and guidance, or at least I often am. So today I thought I'd share the leaders that have given me hope over the past few months. Zoe Samudzi challenges us to see anti-fascism as Black radical tradition. In As Black as Resistance, co-authored with William Anderson, she argues that Black radical formations are themselves fundamentally anti-fascist, despite functioning outside of conventional Antifa spaces, and that U.S. fascism evolved from carceral systems rooted in settler genocide and slavery. She highlights the importance of integrating Black and Indigenous thinkers into our frameworks, which is an essential step if we're serious about dismantling authoritarianism in this country. As Black as Resistance is only 45 pages or so, and it's well worth the read. Angela Davis has been warning us about American fascism for decades and how it's embedded in the prison industrial complex. In 1971, she noted from a jail cell that the racism baked into U.S. prisons signaled a form of fascism, writing, "Fascism is a process. Its growth and development are cancerous in nature." And in 2003, she published Are Prisons Obsolete?, which called for the abolition of prisons and replacing punitive systems with accountable transformative alternatives. She insists that unity across race and class is the greatest menace to racism and fascism, and that hope and collective resistance are our real weapons. Angela Davis is someone I consistently turn to when I'm looking for guidance in the moment. Masha Gessen is among the clearest-eyed thinkers highlighting how authoritarianism grows, and they do this really well in Surviving Autocracy. I read it this January, which was my way of preparing myself for what was to come, and I will say it's not a light read. Gessen traces lessons from Putin's Russia, showing how the collapse of democracy comes from inch-by-inch degradation of institutions and complicity by the mainstream. Gessen has been warning us that American democracy was at a tipping point, and their courage and ability to connect the dots between regimes is a vital form of resistance. I started following Robert Reich after the first Trump administration, and he consistently tries to show us how, when wealth and power are concentrated, democracy withers and authoritarian solutions get traction. He's the co-founder of the Economic Policy Institute, and through platforms like Inequality Media and Threads, Reich has been breaking down the corruption of American capitalism. His message is clear. If we want to stop authoritarianism, we have to rebuild economic justice, empower workers, and demand structures that serve us. Amanda Seales is a brilliant creative mind who uses her platform to challenge white supremacy and authoritarianism. What I love about her is that she always stands 10 toes down. Whether she's dismantling myths around systemic racism or refusing to let Harriet Tubman's legacy be rewritten, she brings facts, passion, and a refusal to back down, which I highly admire. She is unapologetically herself and was one of the first to speak out in support of Gaza, treating backlash as a badge of honor. She is not one for quiet advocacy some would prefer in Hollywood, and that is exactly the type of leader we need in this moment. Mark Elias is a legal warrior against authoritarian erosion. He founded Democracy Docket, a watchdog platform tracking voting rights and election litigation, and spent 2020 and 2021 defending democracy, winning 64 out of 65 lawsuits brought by the Trump campaign to overturn the election. That's absolutely wild. He's continued that fight against wave after wave of voter suppression laws, suing in Georgia, Iowa, and most recently Texas, where his firm just filed a preliminary injunction seeking to block the use of their unconstitutional joke of a congressional map for the 2026 election. He uses high-stakes strategy to bring in wins against the fascists, and he has not and will not fold under the pressure from the Trump administration. Sam Seder has carved out his own spot in progressive media with The Majority Report, one of my favorite podcasts. He turns a live, viewer-funded podcast into a weaponized newsroom, blending his razor-sharp political analysis with humor and debate. His style is groundless, fearless, and relentlessly anti-authoritarian. I've been listening to this guy for almost a decade, and his show with Emma Vigeland and the crew has been a staple in my morning commute. Left is best. And finally, Mehdi Hassan was my last hope for mainstream media, and then he left it. When he founded Zateo, it was then my hope that he would gather all the journalists who were dropped for their support of Gaza and their honesty about Israel's crimes, and he did exactly that. Mehdi brought the fight to a global online news format with an urgency that's pretty rare these days. He's laid bare authoritarian lies on Al Jazeera, MSNBC, and The Intercept, and now through Zateo. Mehdi is who I would have wanted to model myself after when I was a high schooler wanting to be a photojournalist. He's honest and sharp, and he's the smartest guy on the round table, and he refuses to let commentators lie to his face and to the audience. I love that about him, and I feel like he's exactly the type of spirit we need right now. These are folks who give me hope, and I try to take my cues from them. Of course, anytime you list a group of people, you inevitably leave some folks out, but there are so many people out there leading the charge. All of these folks, Zoe Samudzi, Angela Davis, and Amanda Seales, upholding Black radical tradition, Masha Gessen, chronicling the rise of authoritarianism, Robert Reich breaking down the economic collapse of hypercapitalism, Mark Elias defending our rights in court, or voices like Sam Cedar and Mehdi Hassan tearing into authoritarian narratives on air are providing us with guidance and the collective pushback that feels deeply aligned with Solarpunk values. None of them may call themselves Solarpunk, but they are out there doing the work. They're fighting for vulnerable populations. They're dismantling white supremacist authoritarianism. They're exposing capitalism for the exploitative and oppressive system it really is. Solarpunk at its core is about building a world where people come before profit and where care replaces punishment and where truth isn't sacrificed to power, where we don't fear speaking up or fighting for ourselves. And each of these folks shows us different pathways into that vision. Some take it to the streets, some take it to the page or to the classroom, some battle it out in courts, and others broadcast it into our earbuds every day. Together, they remind us that resisting authoritarianism is a long, tedious fight, and every front matters. And that right there, that's the spirit of Solarpunk. Collective struggle, shared survival, and the insistence that a better society is possible, even when this burning dumpster fire tries to convince us otherwise. I'll leave you today with a clip of Angela Davis speaking about infinite hope, courtesy of Democracy Now!
A lot more is happening in the world than the inauguration of someone who represents fascism in this country and the world. And if we look back at struggles for justice and equality, we find that there aren't often propitious moments for those struggles. We've always confronted waves of conservatism. And while we cannot create the conditions for the struggles in which we engage, we can bring our determination. We can bring our vision for a better future. It was Dr. King who said that, that we cannot capitulate to finite disappointments. And what we do is we confront those finite disappointments with infinite hope.
Thanks for listening to this 12th episode of Solarpunking. And thanks for sticking with me all summer. Next week, I'm taking a break, but I'll be back to kick off the fall season. If you've enjoyed listening in so far, consider sharing this podcast with your friends and family members that you think would also like to join the movement. Also, consider leaving me a comment to let me know what you liked and what you didn't like. If you have excess funds, consider donating to the Friends of the Everglades and the Center for Biological Diversity, both of whom joined the Muscogee tribe of Florida to protect their ancestral lands, sacred sites, and the Everglades ecosystem from alligator Alcatraz. And they won! Till next season, stay hydrated and motivated. Peace.